Hello dear students. In this video, we are going to discuss the topic human reproduction. If you recall the points we have studied in the first PUC in the chapter Animal Kingdom, as well as in the case of chapter Reproduction in Organism, that is the first chapter in the case of class 12 or second PUC syllabus, we have come across a different terminology like unisexuality, sexual dimorphism, internal fertilization, as well as what you call the viviparous terminology will be there. Some of these terminology are applicable even with the reference to human being. Now, if I take the human being and relate it to the sexual characteristic feature, if I consider, human being is a unisexual. Individual is a unisexual. That means individual will have either male sex organ or a female sex organ. Morphologically, means structurally, you can able to distinguish male and female individual. That's why in case of human being, we come across the concept called sexual dimorphism. Able to distinguish male and female individual based on the external feature that is applicable with the reference to human beings. Second feature of a human being is here individual have a internal fertilization. Internal fertilization. Now, when we use the word internal fertilization, where fertilization meaning fusion of male and female gametes. Male and female gametes will go to fuse within the female body. Here, in the case of human being, internal fertilization, where fusion of the gametes or site of fertilization is in the fallopian tube. That is in the female reproductive tract. In the female reproductive tract, there is a fertilization which is going to take place. Third one, human being, an example for viviparous individual. Whenever we use the word viviparous, meaning is individual will give birth to young one. That condition is nothing but the viviparous. So these are the introductory concept with the reference to human being. So human being is a unisexual. Second one, you have internal fertilization, and followed by there is a viviparous conditions will be there. Now, if I take the reproductive events in case of a human being. Reproductive events if I taken with the reference to human being. First one, the first event takes place during the reproductions related to human being is gametogenesis. In the first chapter, reproduction organism, you have studied there is a pre-reproductive or pre-fertilization event will be there. That event is nothing but the gametogenesis. So gametogenesis is nothing but the formation of gametes. In case of human being, there will be an spermatogenesis. That is in case of a male, and second one there will be oogenesis will be there. That is a formation of an egg, that is called the oogenesis. That is the first step called gametogenesis. After the gametogenesis, there is a insemination will be there. There is an event called sexual intercourse. During the sexual intercourse, semen will be deposited in the female reproductive tract. That event we going to call it as insemination. If I generalize the statement, it is a transfer of a male gamete into female reproductive tract. That event we going to call it as insemination. Insemination is followed by next event fertilization. Can be also known as a syngamy. Fertilization or syngamy is nothing but the fusion of a male and female gametes. In the coming classroom discussions, we are going to let you know, in the case of fertilization or syngamy, whether related to human being will take place in the region called ampulla of a fallopian tube. In high school, in a 10th standard, we have studied about the human reproductive system. There we come across a word called fallopian tube or oviduct. So there the fertilizations will going to take place. Fertilization when it takes place lead to the formation of a diploid structure called a zygote. This zygote will undergo repeated mitotic division and form a structure called embryo. During the embryogenesis, there is a formation of a stage called blastocyst will be there. there is a formation of a blastocyst. What is blastocyst? I will let you know in case of coming classroom discussion. So, there is a structure called blastocyst will be there. That blastocyst will be formed in the case of a fallopian tube and will be moved towards the uterus. For the next event, it is implantation. Next event is implantation. In the case of implantation, it is the attachment of embryo to the inner wall of uterus. That event is called implantation, which takes place in the region of a uterus. After that, there will be a pregnancy will be there. During that period, the fetus will go on to grow in the uterus of the mother. And after the completion of a pregnancy period or a gestation period, there is a parturition will be there. There is an event called parturition, or I can consider childbirth will be there. So, these are the sequence of the events which will going to take place in the case of a reproductions related to human being. First one is the gametogenesis, formation of gametes. Next one, transfer of a gametes or transfer of a sperm in the form of a semen into a female reproductive tract called insemination. Third one is fertilization. Fourth one is the formation of a blastocyst and transfer of a blastocyst to the uterus. Generalized statement, if I use a technical terminology, then I can say blastocyst formation or blastulation, then transfer of a blastocyst to the uterus. Followed by implantation, it is nothing but the attachment of embryo to the uterus or inner wall of the uterus. Next one, pregnancy, followed by the event called parturition or childbirth. So, these are the main events of a reproduction. Next one, we will pass it over to another aspect, is nothing but the system, reproductive systems of both male and female. We are going to discuss in detail. First one is human male reproductive system. Human male reproductive system we are going to discuss. In the case of a male reproductive system, first one is location, where actually the male reproductive system is located. It is located in the region called pelvic region. Pelvic terminology we have studied in the case of a class 11 or in the first piece of syllabus under the heading of a locomotion movement chapter. There we have studied about the pelvic girdle. So, in the lower part, lower abdominal region, we are going to call it as what I call the pelvic. In that pelvic region, we come across male reproductive system. If the pelvic region word is not given, we can use alternate state terminology. That is nothing but the lower abdominal cavity. Lower abdominal cavity. So, that is about the location of the male reproductive system. Next one is parts of the male reproductive system, which are all the main parts connected to male reproductive system. First one is a pair of testes. ES, T-E-S-T-E-S, I-S singular, ES plural. So, one pair of testes will be there. We consider this one as the primary male sex organ. We consider as a primary male sex organs, that is nothing but the testes. It will be followed by, there will be accessory ducts will be there. Accessory ducts. Third one, there will be an accessory glands will be there. Accessory glands. Fourth one is the external genitalia or male external genitalia, which is also known as penis. So, these are the main parts related to human male reproductive system. A pair of testes, which is a primary male sex organ, accessory ducts will be there. Next one, accessory glands will be there. Next one, an external male genitalia, also known as penis. Next one, about the testes. Already I have told you the testes are nothing but the primary male sex organ. Primary male sex organ because these are the organs which will go on to produce the gametes. There is nothing but the sperm. That's why we consider primary male sex organ. Under that, first one is about the origin, where actually it will be formed and how it will be formed. So, origin of the testis is in the abdominal cavity. It is formed in the abdominal cavity and it will be formed nearer to kidneys. Formed nearer to the kidneys. In the structural organism animal chapter, first PUC, we have studied organisms can be diploblastic or triploblastic based on the germ layers. So, human being come under the phylum Chordata. In a Chordata, individuals will be triploblastic. Mean to say, embryo will have a 3 germ layer, ectoderm, endoderm as well as the mesoderm. Testis will be formed from the mesoderm. So, it will be formed from the mesoderm and it will be formed in the case of abdominal cavity. Next one, if it is formed in the case of abdominal cavity, then they should come to the region called a scrotum. In the case of a location of a testis, if I taken, where actually they are located? They are located in the scrotum. They are located in the organ structure called a scrotum. Now, what is scrotum then? Scrotum is a musculo, mean to say made up of muscle. Cutaneous. Cutaneous in this case is reference to skin. So, structure which is made up of smooth muscle, not striated muscle. Smooth muscle and skin and structure we going to call it a scrotum. So, scrotum is a musculocutaneous pouch which is a bag-like structure, pouch which is present between the thighs. That is nothing but the scrotum. Why? Because as we all know, human being is a homeothermic individual, mean to say endothermic individual. Body temperature can be maintained in case of human being, and we have a body temperature of 37 degrees Celsius or 98.6 Fahrenheit will be that. This is what is called the normal body temperature. In this body temperature, sperm cannot able to produce. That's why what the testes which are formed in the abdominal cavity must come to the region called a scrotum. Then what is a scrotum? I just now told you musculocutaneous pouch which is present between the thighs. Then there is a descending of a testis which are formed in the abdominal cavity into the region called a scrotum. Then there is a descending of a testis will be there. When you take this concept of descending of a testis, which usually takes place 7th to 8th month of a pregnancy. During the 7th to 8th month of a pregnancy, when the male fetus is developing in the uterus of the mother, in the 7th or 8th month of a pregnancy, testes are descended into the structure called a scrotum. Then whether their functions will be there of a scrotum. Yes. So, there will be functions of a scrotum. Just now I told you, human being, homeothermic individual or warm-blooded group of organisms or endothermic, any one of the body is acceptable. Body temperature 37 degrees Celsius. In that temperature, sperm cannot be produced. So, scrotum provide 2 to 2.5 degrees Celsius. 2 to 2.5 degrees Celsius temperature lesser than body temperature. Lesser than body temperature. For the testes for a sperm production. For a sperm production, we require a temperature around 35 degrees Celsius. Around 35 degrees Celsius. So, 2 to 2.5 degrees Celsius temperature lesser than body temperature will be provided by the structure, we call it as a scrotum. So, these are the functions of the related to the word called the scrotum. Next one. In the testis, if I taken, in case I am talking about the human testis here. In the case of a human testis, it will have a shape. the shape of a human testis, it will be oval shape, oval in a shape. Next one is about the size of the human testis. It comes about 4 to 5 centimeter in case of a length and 2 to 3 centimeter in width. This is the size of the human testis, 4 to 5 centimeter length and 2 to 3 centimeter in width. In the case of a testis, it will have what you call the covering. Testis will be covered by the coverings plural. Single covering if it is a tunica. Tunicae is nothing but the plural. So, tunicae will be there. That is nothing but the covering related to what you call the testis. It has the outer part is tunica vaginalis. Outer part is a tunica vaginalis. It will have a middle part. Middle part is tunica albuginea. Remember this one. Word is a tunica albuginea because this word is going to come in the reference to ovary also, and you are going to study the term called tunica albuginea in the practical part also with a reference to ovary. So, tunica albuginea, and inner part will be there, which is nothing but tunica vasculosa. So, like this there will be 3 coverings will be there for the testis. Now, inside the testis there will be structures will be there, we call it a testicular lobules. There will be testicular lobules. Inside the testis, there will be around 250 compartments will be there, which are conical shaped. Number you should remember, inside the testis, there will be 250 compartments will be there, or conical shaped compartments. It will be conical shape compartments. That structure we are going to call it a testicular lobules. Now, inside the testicular lobule, there will be important structure called seminiferous tubules. It has the seminiferous tubules. I will not use the word uriniferous tubules. Uriniferous tubule is a word applicable related to kidney. So, here I am talking the word seminiferous tubule. If a question comes in the MCQ examination or in the case of a board examination, what are seminiferous tubule? Seminiferous tubule, they are the structural and functional units. Structural and functional units of a testis. Of a testis, we are going to call it as a seminiferous tubule. Now, where actually these seminiferous tubules are located? They are located inside the testicular lobule. What are testicular lobule? Already told you, 250 conical shaped compartments of the testis, we are going to call it testicular lobule. Now, under the concept of a seminiferous tubule, there will be location will going to come. So, location in the case of a testicular lobule, how many? There will be 1 to 3 seminiferous tubules. There will be 1 to 3 seminiferous tubules will be there per testicular lobule. One testicular lobule if I taken, it will have 1 to 3 seminiferous tubule. So, these are the characteristic feature of the structure called seminiferous tubule. Next one, inside the seminiferous tubule, it will have a lining will be there. Next one is inner lining. Inner lining of a seminiferous tubules. Now, inner lining of a seminiferous tubule or inner lining of gonads, that word is there related to structural organism animal chapter. There is a word called germinal epithelium we call. So, inner lining of a seminiferous tubule, we are going to call it as germinal epithelium. If I elaborate the term and use the technical terminology, then I can consider this is nothing but the seminiferous epithelium. Germinal epithelium, also known as a seminiferous epithelium in the case of a testis. In the germinal epithelium or seminiferous epithelium, it will have two kinds of cells will be there. It has two kinds of cells. Which are they? First one is spermatogonial cells. First one is spermatogonial cells, which is diploid in nature. 2n number of chromosomes will be there, diploid. Second cell is Sertoli cells, capital S, name of scientist. Sertoli cells will be there. Usually we use our Sertoli cells, if not sustentacular cells. Sustentacular cells. If not generalized word, nurse cells. Nurse cells. So this cell also will be diploid in nature. So like this, in the case of an inner lining of seminiferous tubule, there will be a germinal epithelium with the two kinds of a cell, not two kinds of cell, spermatogonial cell, and adjacent to it there will be Sertoli cells will be there. Now what is the function of the cells called spermatogonial cells? These spermatogonial cells will undergo meiosis. They will undergo the process called meiosis and produces sperms. Sperm I can use, or I can use an alternate word, spermatozoa. Sperm and spermatozoa meaning will be one and same. So it will be haploid in nature because they are formed after the process called meiosis. So the role of a spermatogonial cell in a seminiferous tubule is to produce the spermatozoa, also known as a sperms, by meiosis. Then what is the role of a Sertoli cell or sustentacular cell which are present in the germinal epithelium or in seminiferous epithelium? This Sertoli cell will go on to offer nourishment. I am talking about the function here. Offer nourishment for sperms. Offer nourishment for sperms. That is one function. Second function of a Sertoli cell or sustentacular cell is it will go on to secrete a hormone. Secrete hormone called inhibin. Hormone name is inhibin. This is one hormone, as well as it will go on to produce one protein called ABP. It will produce a protein called ABP, stand for androgen binding protein. Androgen binding protein. So these are the two compounds that will be produced by the cell called Sertoli cell or sustentacular cells present in the germinal epithelium of testis. So these are all the points related to the main structure is nothing but the testes, which are primary male sex organs. Next one. We'll pass it over to second part of a male reproductive system. The second part of a male reproductive system is the accessory ducts. We call it as accessory ducts. Now, these accessory ducts these accessory ducts helps in the transfer of a sperm from the testis. Transfer of a sperm from the testis. So, the accessory ducts are first one rete testis. First one rete testis. Second one vasa efferentia. Next one is vasa efferentia. Third one epididymis. And the last one is vasa deferens. Or sorry, vasa differentia. Vasa differentia. So these are the various accessory ducts of a male reproductive system. Now, in the case of the testis, if I taken, this is the peripheral part, this is the inner part. Here there will be a structure will be there, which are conical shaped structure like this. These conical shaped structures we are going to call it as testicular lobules. Testicular lobule will be there. Now inside the testicular lobule, there is a highly called structure will be there called seminiferous tubule. Not 1, 1 to 3 will be there. This is the ends of a seminiferous tubule. these ends of a seminiferous tubule, we are going to call it as tubuli recti. The ends of a seminiferous tubules, we call it a tubuli recti. Tubuli recti of all the seminiferous tubule, because inside the testes, there will be around 750 seminiferous tubules are possible, because there will be 250 testicular lobule. Each lobule will have 1 to 3 seminiferous tubule, then maximum it can have whatever 750 seminiferous tubule. Seminiferous tubules ends are called tubuli recti. Tubuli recti is going to join and form a network-like structure called rete testis. So here there will be many seminiferous tubules will be there. All these structures will going to join and form a structure. These structures we are going to call it as a rete testis. Now what are rete testis? Structure formed by the joining of a tubuli recti. That is nothing but the rete testis. Now from the rete testis, there will be small duct will going to arise like this. Ducts will going to arise. Small ducts will going to arise. How many? 15 to 20 ducts will going to arise from each rete testis. From each one testis when we taken, we will have one rete testis. From one rete testis, there are 15 to 20 ducts will going to arise. These individual duct is vas efferens. Is nothing but the vas efferens. Now, when we use the word vas efferens, it is a single structure. Vasa efferentia, plural. I already told you 15 to 20. Like this, there are 15 to 20 ducts will going to arise from the structure called rete testis. Now, all these vasa efferentia will going to join and form a structure called epididymis. Now, vasa efferentia, rete testis, tubuli recti. All these parts are present inside the testis. Which are they? Tubuli recti, rete testis and vasa efferentia. All of them, they are present inside the testis. Now, from the testis, a duct will going to arise. That is nothing but the epididymis. Let us take the term epididymis. There will be epididymis. Now, 15 to 20 ducts will going to arise from the rete testis, vasa efferentia. Vasa efferentia will join and form a structure called epididymis. Already told you vasa efferentia is present inside the testis. Then how the epididymis will comes out from the testis? Now, epididymis arises from the posterior side. Arises from the posterior side of the testis. Posterior side of the testis. What is the cat feature of this epididymis? Epididymis is 6 meter long structure. The longest accessory duct of a male reproductive system is nothing but the epididymis. This epididymis will have a parts. The parts of the epididymis is head epididymis, which is formed by the joining of all vasa efferentia. This head epididymis continue as a body epididymis. Continue as a body epididymis. Body epididymis continue as a tail epididymis. Continue as a tail epididymis. So there will be 3 parts will be there for 6 meter long epididymis. Which are the head epididymis, body epididymis, tail epididymis. Other terminology also will be there. Caput epididymis, corpus epididymis, quadra epididymis word also can be used. But usually we take these terminology, head, body as well tail epididymis. Now, in the case of epididymis, is there any role will be there? So, there will be an functions of epididymis will be there. Functions of epididymis. The first function of the epididymis is it will go to store sperm, not semen. It will go to store sperms, not for indefinite period of time. It is going to store the sperm for 18 to 24 hours. So, that is the first function of the structure called the epididymis. Second one is Epididymis is a site where sperm attain physiological maturation. Sperms attains motility. Only the flagellated cell present in our body, human body, is sperm. That sperm which are formed in the testis, now it not shows any kinds of movement. Now it should attain the what you call the ability to move. That is required for the what you call fertilization. So sperm attains motility. Motility. Technically, I can use physiological maturation. Physiological maturation. Morphological maturation, wrong usage. Structural changes will not going to take place. Only the behavioral changes will be there. It's what I call the functional proper character features will be get altered. Which is a non-motile, it will become motile. That's why I had to use the word physiological maturation. Third function of the epididymis is it will going to absorb damaged sperm and cell debris. Damaged sperm and cell debris, if it is there, it will be absorbed by the structure what we call epididymis. So in the case of if you are going to write the MCQ examination, CET or NEET examination, at that time they will use a statement. The structure which will helps in the motility of the sperm is, answer has to be epididymis, which is a 6 meter long structure. Now this epididymis has a posterior part, a distal part of the epididymis. We are going to call it as a tail epididymis. That tail epididymis continues a part called vasa differentia. So next word is vasa differentia. Word itself indicate it is a plural. Vas difference, if I use vas difference, then it is a singular. In one testis there is a one epididymis. In one testis if I taken one epididymis. Then one epididymis continue as a one vas difference. Singular one is called vas difference. Human reproductive system when taken two testes will be there, that right side as well as left side. Both the structure will have a vas difference. That's why we say male reproductive system is a vasa differentia. Now what is vasa differentia? It is the tail epididymis. Tail epididymis will be the continue as vas difference. Continue as a vas difference. Now testis, now it is present outside the abdominal cavity. In the beginning I told you it is present in the region called scrotum. Then that structure will go to, that scrotum will also have a structure called epididymis. So epididymis is present in the scrotum. Now that epididymis should enter into the abdominal cavity. They enter abdominal cavity in the form of what called the vas difference. Now that vas difference ascended to abdominal cavity. We can write enters the abdominal cavity. There is one cavity will be called inguinal canal. To the inguinal canal it is going to enter, and this vas difference or both the side, right side and left side if I taken, vasa differentia. Vasa differentia forms loop over urinary bladder. Loop over urinary bladder. That is a feature of the structure called vasa differentia. So these are the accessory ducts present in the case of male reproductive system. In the abdominal cavity, vasa differentia will go to join with the seminal vesicles duct. It forms a structure called ejaculatory ducts. We call it as ejaculatory ducts. So how many vasa differentia will be there? Two. One on the right side, another is the left side. So both the structures comes into the abdominal cavity on either side and going to receive the duct from the seminal vesicle and form a structure called ejaculatory duct around 2 to 3 centimeter in a case of a length. That is called ejaculatory duct. Then how it is formed? Formed by the joining of vasa differentia. Two will be there, right side as well as left side. and ducts of a seminal vesicle. Ducts of a seminal vesicles. That is nothing but the ejaculatory ducts. Now this ejaculatory duct should continue now. Now ejaculatory duct continue as a part called a male urethra. Because we are discussing about the male reproductive system, there will be male urethra. Now, where actually how the male urethra will be arises. So male urethra arises from the base of a urinary bladder. From the base of a urinary bladder, there is a structure going to arise. That structure we are going to call it as what I call the male urethra. Now this male urethra cat feature is around 20 centimeter in length. This point we have not directly, indirectly you studied in the chapter called excretory product and elimination of class 11 or in the first piece of syllabus. At the base of the urinary bladder, like this, there will be a urinary bladder will be there. From the base of the urinary bladder, there is a structure going to arise, nothing but the urethra. And here behind the urinary bladder, there will be seminal vesicles will going to come. From there, there is a duct will going to arise that we are going to call seminal duct. From the right side as well from the left side, there will be duct will going to arise. The duct is nothing but the vasa differentia. Now, these vasa differentia join with the duct of a seminal vesicle forms ejaculatory duct. Here also ejaculatory duct. That will going to continue the part we are going to call it as male urethra. Continues the male urethra. So male urethra in human being, male if I consider it is 20 centimeter in length. Now this male urethra will allow the passage of both semen and urine. So function of a male urethra is allow the passage of urine and semen at a different time. Okay, when the urination will be there, usually semen will not going to come out from the body. When a sexual arousal will be there, when a semen comes out through the structure called male urethra, urine will not going to pass out. So that's why it will allow the passage of urine and semen at a different time. That is the cat feature of a male urethra. Now this male urethra passes through the external male genitalia. That I will let you know separately. So these are the points related to the structure called accessory duct present in the male reproductive system. Next one. In the case of a human male reproductive system, in the male human reproductive system, there will be third structure will be there. They are nothing but the accessory glands. There will be structures called accessory glands will be there. Now, which are all the accessory glands of a male reproductive system? First one, a pair of seminal vesicles. A pair of seminal vesicles will be there. Second one, a prostate gland. T-A-T-E. T-R-A-T-E, wrong. Prostate, wrong. Prostate means horizontal. Mercantia, thallus shows prostate growth. Here the word prostate. So there will be a prostate gland, singular. This is a plural, vesicles will be there. Third one is a pair of bulbourethral gland. Bulbourethral glands. Bulbourethral glands also known as Cowper's gland. C-O-W. Cowper's glands. Again plural. Two will be there. So these are the three accessory glands present in the male reproductive system. First one, seminal vesicle, concept, location, where actually they are located. So location of the seminal vesicle, they are present behind the urinary bladder. Present behind the urinary bladder. First point. Second point, under the seminal vesicle, contribution, because they are going to secrete seminal fluid or seminal plasm that is secreted by the structure called seminal vesicle. So contribution, how much contribution? 60% of a seminal plasma. 60% of the seminal plasma is produced by the structure is nothing but the seminal vesicle. Now, chemical composition or chemical content, what they contain? The seminal plasma contains what? Here it contains important one, fructose. Please do remember, fructose. Second one, it contains calcium ion, Ca2+. It contains protein like fibrinogen. It contains a protein like a fibrinogen. It also contains citric acid, prostaglandin, like that other chemical compound also will be there. Main compound according to our syllabus are taken into consideration. There is a chemical content present in the gland called seminal vesicles. Then what is the functions of the seminal vesicles? Here I had mentioned there is a monosaccharide will be there, ketohexose sugar. The ketohexose sugar is nothing but the fructose. If you recall the point, high school first PUC syllabus, respiration in a plant chapter, we have studied about the aerobic respiration, where we have studied the primary energy fuel for all living cell is glucose. Primary energy fuel for all living cell is nothing but the glucose except human sperm. Human sperm utilize fructose as energy fuel. So, function of the seminal vesicle is they secrete seminal plasma which contain a fructose. Then a function is offer nourishment for sperms. Nourishment for a sperm. That is because of the presence of the monosaccharide, nothing but the fructose. Second one, there will be a gland called prostate gland. Like previous concept, here also we take a location. There will be where actually it is located. I have told you there is a urinary bladder will be there. Base of the urinary bladder, there will be an urethra will going to arise. In this region, where urinary bladder arises from the base of the urethra arises from the base of urinary bladder, there we come across a gland called prostate gland. So, prostate gland location located below or beneath the urinary bladder. Beneath the urinary bladder. And what is the cat feature here? It arises beneath the urinary bladder and it will go to encircle the male urethra. Encircle the male urethra. That is the cat feature of a prostate gland. Next one, contribution. Because this gland also will go to secrete seminal plasma like that of other two kinds of accessory gland. So, its contribution is around 40% of a seminal plasma. So, maximum will be produced by the structure called seminal vesicle. This contribute around 40% of seminal plasma, which is white milkish alkaline fluid. Next one is about the chemical content. What are the content? Chemicals will be there in the secretion of the prostate gland. It contains enzyme fibrinolysin. It contains an enzyme fibrinolysin. Next one, it contains an enzyme acid phosphatase. It contains an enzyme called acid phosphatase. Now, what is the function of this prostate gland, which is which secrete an alkaline seminal plasma? So, the function of the prostate gland, if I taken, the function is it will go to neutralize. It will go to neutralize the acidic pH of a male urethra. Acidic pH of a male urethra and vagina. Neutralize the acidic pH of a male urethra and vagina when actually during sexual intercourse. During sexual intercourse. So, these are the points related to the functions of a prostate gland. Now, question will going to arise, How come male urethra will have acidic pH? Question will be, how come male urethra will have acidic pH? That is related to excretory product and elimination. Just now I told you, male urethra allow the passage of a urine as well as semen. Urine pH, if the male urethra through which urine passes, urine pH is around 6. Urine pH will be 6. That's why male urethra will have acidic pH. In that acidic pH, if the semen passes, there will be possibility of a sperm loses their viability. That's why pH has to be neutralized. Second one I told you, it also neutralizes the acidic pH in the vagina. In the case of a vagina, which is nothing but the female copulatory organ, here the acidic pH will be there because of the lactobacilli. There will be a bacteria called lactobacilli acidophilus. One kind of a bacteria will be there. That bacteria will go to convert the glycogen into lactic acid. Glycogen to lactic acid. That's why in the case of vagina, there is acidic pH will be there, as well as in the case of male urethra, acidic pH will be there. That pH will be neutralized by the secretion of the prostate gland at the time of a sexual intercourse. So these are the features related to the gland called a prostate gland. Third one, let me take bulbourethral gland. Third one is a pair of a bulbourethral glands. Bulbourethral glands, also known as Cowper's gland. Name of scientist, Cowper's glands. There is a urinary bladder, diagrammatic representation. There is a male urethra like this. And in this region, this will be encircled. Male urethra will be encircled by the structure called a prostate gland. Prostate gland, it will be single. Now, below the prostate gland and either side of the male urethra, here we can come across the two peanut-sized glands will be the one pair. That is nothing but the bulbourethral gland. So, location, if I have to take location of a bulbourethral gland, then I will write it will present below the prostate gland. Below the prostate gland. Now, where actually on either side of a urethra, side of a male urethra, there will be prostate urethra, membranal urethra, penile urethra anta wordgalu bartade. Ashtu pointgalu beda. So it is located on either side of the male urethra below the prostate gland. Sorry. Next one, size will be the, it will be size, it will be peanut size. Peanut size, very small gland they are all. That is called bulbourethral gland. Contribution, that is for the formation of a seminal plasma. Contribution will be there. In the case of contribution, it will contribute less than 5% of a seminal plasma. Contribute less than 5% of a seminal plasma. 60% contribution come from a seminal vesicle, 40% contribution come from the prostate gland, less than 5% contribution come from the gland called bulbourethral gland or Cowper's gland. Then what is the function? Next one is the function of before that, let me take the chemical content. Chemical composition or chemical content of the secretion of bulbourethral gland. It contains mainly mucus. A glycoproteinaceous compound, we are going to call it as a mucus will be there. Then whether any functions will be there of a bulbourethral gland. Yeah, the function of a bulbourethral gland. There will be a function will be there of a bulbourethral gland. What is it? It provides lubrication. Provide lubrication for a penis. That is a male external genitalia or penis during sexual intercourse. Sexual intercourse. So, These are all the point related to the three kinds of accessory gland present in the case of a human male reproductive system. Now, all these three glands, what will be there? They will go on to produce seminal plasma. They produce seminal plasma. Then what is seminal plasma? Seminal plasma I can define as is a fluid secretion of accessory glands of male reproductive system. It is the fluid secretion of accessory glands of male reproductive system, that we are going to call it a seminal plasma. Now, in the case of seminal plasma, it will have a sperm. Seminal plasma will going to contain sperm. Seminal plasma with the sperm, now we are going to call it a semen. So, how I can define the word semen? Semen is the combination of a seminal plasma and sperm. Or equation basis, if I write, semen is equal to seminal plasma plus sperm. So, these are the points related to seminal plasma as well as semen. Next one, when you take on the male reproductive system, when you take on the male reproductive system into consideration, it will have a four main part. First one is the testis, a pair of testes. Second one, accessory ducts, which helps in the transfer of a sperm from the testis towards to the exterior. Next one, third one is accessory glands, which will go to secrete seminal plasma. Third one is external genitalia. External genitalia will be the external genitalia, also known as a penis. External genitalia or penis will be that. Now, in the case of external genitalia or penis, what is the cat feature? In the case of a external genitalia or a penis, it have a erectile tissue will be there. It will have a erectile tissues. The erectile tissues are corpus spongiosum. Second one is corpora cavernosa. Corpus spongiosum and second one corpora cavernosa. These two words are not there in the NCERT textbook, but they are mentioned about the term called erectile tissue. So, in the case of external genitalia, there is an erectile tissue will be there. And through this, what you call the penis, male urethra will passes out. So, male urethra passes through the penis. Further elaboration point, male urethra passes through the structure we call it as corpus spongiosum. Corpus spongiosum. A cylindrical muscular male copulatory organ is nothing but the penis. Diagrammatic representation like this, it will be an structure will be there, and its anterior part it will be slightly enlarged, like this part will going to come. This part we going to call it as what you call the glans penis. This is nothing but the glans penis. So, what is glans penis? Enlarged terminal part of a penis. So, word will be glans penis. It can be a probable 1 mark question in the case of board examination. Enlarged terminal part of a penis. We are going to call it as glans penis. Now, this glans penis will be covered by the loose fold of a skin. Like this, there will be loose fold of a skin will be there. This loose fold of a skin covering the glans penis, we call it as foreskin. We call it as a foreskin. Foreskin word is not given. Alternate word prepuce. E-P-U-C-E. Prepuce is the loose fold of skin. Loose fold of a skin covering the glans penis. Covering the glans penis. Already told you, through the penis there is a passage of a structure will be there. The structure is nothing but the male urethra. Further elaborate the sentence, male urethra passes through the corpus spongiosum present in the case of penis and it will open in the tip of what you call the glans penis. The opening of a male urethra in the tip of the glans penis, we are going to call it a urethral meatus. We are going to call it as urethral meatus. So, this one is urethral meatus. Urethral meatus. So, male urethra, if question come for 1 mark, how to write? Male urethra opens at the tip of a glans penis through the opening is called urethral meatus. Structure we are going to call it urethral meatus. So, these are the parts related to the structure called external genitalia or penis, which is a male copulatory organ. Which is male copulatory organ. Now, what is the function of this penis or male copulatory organ? Its function is used for insemination during the sexual intercourse. So, the function of the male external genitalia or penis is used for insemination. As well as the connected to excretory reproductive elimination chapter, I can consider it is even helps in the case of urination or micturition also. So, these are all the parts related to male reproductive system. Same kind of a concept which comes in the case of a NCERT textbook also.